Welcome to the Show Up Show, where we bring you everything you need to emerge as a powerful and healthy leader in your life, business, and relationships. Because how you show up in one area of life is how you show up in all of them. I'm your host, Debbie Pace, author of The Journal to Freedom, a foundational guide to help you examine your beliefs and how they shape your patterns and behaviors in life, so you can transform what's not working and can show up like a boss in every area of your life. What do you do when you make it as a television producer interviewing highly sought-after celebrities, but you don't like who you are when you look in the mirror at the end of every day? Join us now as Jonathan Troen takes us through a self-love revolution.
I'm Jonathan Troen, and I help people find the joy inside of themselves.
I love that. So, of course, the next natural question will be, and how do you do that?
I help people move from a place of self-loathing or that talk, that voice in our head, to a place of self-love and self-compassion so that they can really enjoy their life, their business or career, and honestly, their bank account at the same time. Because I found, and I was in that place as well, that we often give up one for the other, and often we're giving up our life to create a larger business or bank account. And we can have them both if we approach not just business differently, yes, and not just life differently, yes, but ourselves differently. And you asked how. So I have a program that came out of my personal practice, to be clear, and it's called the Self-Love Revolution. And it's really more of a movement than a program. And it's a way that we can now become our own best friends so that we can really excel in all aspects of our lives and stop tearing ourselves down.
So, Jonathan, you said from self-loathing to self-love. So most people might think, well, loathing is a really strong word, but what specifically do you mean when you say that? Like, what kinds of people, what things does self-loathing consist of, and how does that look in a person that comes to you?
And you're right, that is a strong word, and maybe you're not self-loathing, but certainly most of us self-sabotage. Most of us have this voice in our head, which some people call the inner judge, some people call the inner critic. It doesn't matter what you call it. It is a bully. We are our own worst bullies. And often this voice, we don't even know how long it's been there. I ask people, so when's the first time you heard that voice? And then we have to pause and think, and then they go, well, I don't know, forever. It gets instilled in us at a pretty young age. And this voice keeps telling us, you're not good enough. Don't try that. It's not going to work anyway. You're not pretty enough. You don't look good enough. That idea is pretty dumb. And it uses all these tactics to stop ourselves from showing up in the world.
Right.
And it is a strong voice.
Yeah. And I call those bullshit stories, by the way. I do a lot of work around that in the Journal to Freedom in my programs as well. And I'm here with you 100%. Those are some strong, strong words. And when we don't understand where they come from, we hear them and we think they're truth. So it sounds to me like what you work with people on doing is going from that place into the place of self-love. And how do you do that? If you can just briefly describe how that happens.
Yeah. So in terms of the voices, one is there are other voices in your head. They're just really quiet, and we need to strengthen them. So those bullshit stories, the inner critic, the inner judge, that is like, think of it like the gym. That's a very strong muscle, right? Very strong muscle because you've been working it your whole life.
Right.
But we have these inner guides as well. We have the future self, and we have the child self. We have the fun one. Remember how fun you used to be? And one day you just stopped having fun. So many of us, it's like one day we woke up, oh, we're not supposed to have fun. We just have to work hard. So the adventurer, the adventurer, we have all these other voices that we can connect to these other parts of ourselves. And they are our inner guides. They are our inner army. And they are your champion to bring you all the success that you want in the world. And when we use those voices, here are really the 4 pillars of self-love. If you want to get down and dirty, this is what you got to do every day. Now, if you haven't done any of them, you can start with one. You don't have to start with all 4. Eventually, you need all 4. But the first one is acceptance. Usually, we try to change our lives from a place of, I hate this and I got to change it. And we do take massive action and we get change, and then we wind up right back where we were in the first place, right? You've witnessed that in
for
your
sure.
life before? Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you come from a place of acceptance, acceptance doesn't mean you like it. It just means this is where I am right now. This is what I look like, my body, or this is my bank account, or this is my job, and come from a place of simple acceptance. Stop fighting yourself.
What's number 2?
Number 2 is gratitude. And I know it's kind of cliche, but everything starts with gratitude. If you don't have gratitude in your life, you don't have a life, period. And to be clear, gratitude is not just words on a paper or something you say. Gratitude is a feeling, an experience in your body. You have to feel and experience gratitude in your body every single day. And bonus points, have gratitude for yourself, not just all the things around you. Have gratitude for things around you as well. But think of one thing every day that you're grateful for about yourself. And that's really powerful. The third pillar, and this was the last one I figured out personally, forgiveness. You got to forgive yourself and others. And I have a longer meditation that is used to heal some older wounds. But man, we hold on to stories that are 10, 20, 30 years old. We keep replaying them in our heads as if it's going to change. And we spend so much effort trying to change the past. If only that would have been different. Someone else would do something different. You'd do something different. My life today would be different. Here's the deal. Forgiveness is giving up hope that the past can be different. Again, like acceptance, it doesn't mean it's okay. You're not saying it's okay what someone else did or what you did or what you or someone else didn't do.
Right. You're just no longer willing to be the victim of whatever happened, which is beautiful.
And I have a daily practice. So I have a long meditation to kind of go through some of the old gunk. But whatever happened today and every day, someone pisses you off or you screw something up. I screw something up every day. I forgive myself every day. I have a daily forgiveness meditation. I forgive myself and anyone else who has harmed me, either physically, emotionally, monetarily, knowingly or unknowingly, because half the time if someone else is doing it, they don't even know they hurt you. Knowingly or unknowingly, I wish them no harm. That's really important. We have to stop wishing harm on others. I wish them no harm, and I release myself from any future pain.
That's powerful. Do you start the day with that, or do you just...
I end the day with that. And on hard days, and I'll be honest, the past couple of months has been some hard days for me. Mm-hmm. So I've been saying it multiple times a day. But on a standard day, or if a day's crazy, I forget, this is what I do while I brush my teeth. I look in the mirror and I practice forgiveness for all my mistakes, for anything that anyone else did. And it's the most powerful thing because now I do not need to carry it into my dreams and I do not need to carry it into tomorrow. And it replaced my old practice. My old practice was reviewing my day and focusing on all my screw-ups.
Oh my goodness. So you know what you do? It sounds very Oponopono. Are you familiar with Oponopono?
I am not. Tell me.
Okay. So Oponopono is this practice of basically it's 4 statements and it's really about letting go of exactly what you're saying, letting go of anything that might have come into your space that either you might have done to others or that you need forgiveness for, or that someone else has done, and really getting to that balancing place, that neutral place. And it's, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And it's a mantra, and you just keep repeating that. And if you aren't familiar with it, definitely look it up. But it's the same principle, and it's funny because people who are in this light space of bringing this light energy to the world and really helping with the global transformation, there's so many tools out there. And, some of us are on one side and we're aware we have these tools, and others are over here and we have these tools, and some are over here. And so there's so many amazing tools. And what you're doing is it's such great validation when when you're doing something that others are also doing. And it's so funny because all the things you're talking about, all these different things, and we have different vehicles for doing them, but it's the same thing. It's this ultimate goal of, in your day, like listeners, in your day, the one thing that Jonathan wants to make sure of is that you don't feel a sense of self-loathing or judgment or criticism towards yourself. You really feel a sense of, I'm rocking this day. I'm a powerful creator. I'm a powerful person. I'm a beautiful person. I make great decisions, and I'm not carrying any bags with me to sleep tonight.
Yeah, exactly. Because how many of us have that story in our head of something that happened 10, 20, 30 years ago? We just replay it. We replay it. We replay it.
All of us. The answer is all of us.
Yeah. So it's simply a way so that you can open up your brain to be able to do something else. If you're spending half the day thinking about all those things in the past, you cannot be productive. You cannot contribute. You cannot help other people. And that's what we're here on this planet to do, is connect with and help other people. And we can't do it if we're replaying these stories from 10 and 20 years ago and honestly exhausting ourselves from all the effort, because then we think of the story and then we fight ourselves because we hate the story.
Right.
And oh my God, it's exhausting.
Jonathan, can you tell us your story from self-loathing to self-love? Because the reason why any of us are in a place where we want to help someone else is because we've been there and we've experienced what we know we can take someone else through. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey from loathing to love?
Yeah. So I spent 20 years in the entertainment business. And look, I had a successful career on paper. Mm-hmm. It looked awesome. I lived 3 blocks from the beach. I could see the sunset out my window. I was interviewing the biggest stars in the world. I was going to any concert I ever wanted to see, hanging out backstage, interviewing people. It was awesome. Except when I got home, I wasn't happy. And I couldn't figure out why, because I had designed the life I wanted to live. So it was really confusing to me. And people, and my friends would go, "Oh man, your everything in your life is so awesome." And it was, but they didn't know the voices in my head and what they were doing and how much they were beating me up and just pummeling me every day. I mean, man, I was my own worst enemy. I was my biggest bully. And I didn't really know it at the time. And one day I figured it out, like, okay, I always thought, okay, when that whatever comes through, when I get, now I was 3 blocks from the beach, when I get the house on the beach, I'll be happy. Because, I started out in the middle of the city, and then 11th Street, and then 3rd Street. And I really thought, okay, when I get to the beach, then I'll finally be happy. Mm-hmm. Or if I get the interview that I want, or if I start producing the show that I want, that something from the outside would make me happy. And the problem was, I got all the stuff I ever wanted, right? So I got the show and I got the interview, and I'm like, okay, why aren't I happy? I was supposed to work hard and then be successful and then be happy. That's the formula that we're taught. And it didn't happen. So then I figured it out, and I learned about this voice in the head, and I'm going, oh my God, we all have a voice in our head. I really didn't know that everybody was talking to themselves. I thought I was crazy. It was just me. It was a huge, mind-blowing experience to discover that everybody else had that same voice in their head, and everyone else, maybe not everyone, but so many other people that looked great on the outside were struggling on the inside.
Well, it's the reason why Tony Robbins and so many other, people who are known as somewhat gurus in this space are so popular, because you and me, my own personal story is similar, 30 years in broadcasting and journalism. And it was like, and for what? What am I really doing? What impact am I really making in the world? And, and I couldn't stand how I felt inside. And, we all have a backstory. And mine was that my biological father, first 5 years, was very, very violent. And I grew up with that anger and violence inside of me. And that was who I identified as. And there's all this stuff that I've unpeeled from, or peeled from years and years of my own personal development work. But it's very similar. And, you just glossed over it. But people are going to wonder, oh, you interviewed, what did you work for? They're going to Google your name, and they're going to see your IMDb, and they're going to see a name like Reese Witherspoon on your producer credits and stuff like that. So I think it's really important to understand it's not like you were at a local station or whatever. Like, you were in front of some serious celebrities. And that is most people, even our listeners, are probably going, well, I have a podcast, and if I could just interview a celebrity, then I'd expand and I'd be everywhere, and then I'd be happy. And I don't want to just graze over this. I want to really nail this down with you, because I know that this is exactly what you do. You work with these kinds of people who are like, hey, guess what? I'm at the top of my game, and guess what? I'm freaking miserable.
Yeah. That's honestly what it was. I mean, I interviewed my idols, really my idols, the people that influenced me when I was a child. And I said, man, that would be so cool to meet them. Saw all their shows, all that kind of stuff.
Who'd you interview? Tell us your favorites.
Well, for me, I mean, I was a punk rocker growing up, right? So I got to interview Joey Ramone, also Johnny Ramone, but I was more of a Joey fan. And yeah, I know he's not the biggest star in the world, but for me, he changed my life. I interviewed Joe Strummer of The Clash, and these were like highlights. And to be clear, when I was sitting there doing it, I was loving life. It was amazing. So I'm not going to discount the joy I got from connecting with people, from meeting people, from hearing their stories, from sitting in the same room with them, from all that kind of stuff.
But then you have to go home at night and look at yourself in the mirror as just Jonathan.
Yeah. And I would look at myself and say pretty mean things. Like, I'd have a great interview. I remember I interviewed Cher, right? I mean, like, amazing stuff. And then I go home and go, oh, well, that was a stupid question you asked, or you forgot to ask that question. And it was an amazing interview. It really was. And she was so gracious and so wonderful and kind to us. But I go home and go, and then the stories, and you're not Cher, and you're never going to be as big as Cher, all those kind of stories too then go into your head, right? So it's like any opportunity to beat yourself up. And then one day I discovered, here's what the problem was, is I didn't know I was beating myself up. It's kind of like some people are in abusive relationships but don't know it. They just see the good about the person that's even abusing them. And I was in my own abusive relationship. If you would have asked me if I liked myself, I would have said, yeah, like, of course. How could I not like myself? I didn't know how abusive I was to myself. Then only looking back can I see what I did to myself. Because I was kind to other people. All my friends would have told you, oh, Jonathan, yeah, he's so kind. He's a nice guy. I mean, people liked me. I didn't know that I was internally abusing myself. And I think many of us are internally abusing ourselves. And we've got to stop. Eventually, I started studying my mind. I started studying other people's minds. And I was going to say I stopped abusing myself. I can't really say that because there's still a voice in the head. I just understand the voice in the head. It's not like that voice goes away. You just begin to understand it and find those more powerful voices that can have your back. Like, people talk about mantras and things like that. I have this new mantra came to me, it was just a few months ago. So I still learn and grow all the time, even though I've been doing this for some years now. And the mantra that came to me was, I have your back.
Ooh.
Not me talking to someone else, although I do say this to other people, and I have other people's backs. I really do. But I look myself in the mirror now, and I tell myself, Jonathan, I have your back. And that gives me the strength to do everything I do. I no longer rely on other people to make sure I can do what I'm doing, right? Because that just... When we rely on people, it invokes one of the 13 saboteurs, and one of the 13 saboteurs is blame.
Oh, yeah.
If it doesn't show up, then it's their fault.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't blame anymore. Blame is done for me.
I want to go back a second because you talked about the mirror, and that's a very powerful personal development tool that you just talked about right there. When you go, you said, I go to the mirror and I say, I have your back. But I want to address some of our listeners who aren't there yet, because I know in my own process a decade ago, someone recommended I do mirror work and go in the mirror and say, I love you, Debbie. And it made me, first of all, it disgusted me. I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. So when you're talking about this, Jonathan, I 100%, I'm right there with you, my friend. And I know what you've gone through. I'm feeling it with you. And when I started the mirror work, I couldn't even like the way I looked. Here I was, a broadcaster, and I couldn't even stand to look in the mirror. I'm like, ew, you're so ugly and you have this. And it was so, so bad. And everybody else would tell me, you're so beautiful, you're so magnetic, you're all these things. And I go in the mirror and like, you are a POS. And it was so powerful to be able to start going in the mirror. And first I just looked in my eyes and I started to vision 5-year-old Debbie. And I was like, aw, Debbie, you're in there. You're so powerful. You're so beautiful. But at first, it made me cry. It was hard. It was so difficult. So if someone's going to take your advice and go in the mirror and start doing this, I want to make sure we both are here really powerfully holding space for them to say, if it's difficult for you or you've tried it, it's okay. It's not easy at first, especially if you really are disconnected from the beauty and the power of your soul, because this is where the work is. And I'm so grateful to you, Jonathan, for bringing this up, because this is probably the place where people stop, where people give up in this self-love journey that you're talking about, because they're like, I can't do it. It's too hard. That's awful. That's stupid, whatever, because they can't look at themselves with love.
Yeah. So here's the thing, and it's a really good point, because it was a journey for me too. And this is the fourth pillar. I didn't give you the fourth pillar before. The fourth pillar is simply self-kindness, saying kind things to yourself. And I'll be honest with you, the first time I learned about mirror work, I go, oh, that sounds cool. And I'd been coaching for years already and had success and helping other people get success. And I went to the mirror and I look in the mirror and I go, Jonathan, that's an exact quote. And we're not doing video right now, so you didn't see my head, but my head also looked away from the mirror because, like you, I couldn't look at myself and say those words. Mm-hmm. And believe me, I looked in myself in the mirror plenty of times as I was beating myself up and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, it's the critic. It's like it's the critical TV personality where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe my hair looked like that, or I didn't do this, or I showed up like that, or I wore this, or I didn't tuck this in. Like it's nonstop.
Yeah, so it's a journey. It's a journey. If you fail the first time, and look, the first time I did it, so that's what I did. And I left the bathroom. I ran to the living room and curled up like a ball on the floor, not knowing what the hell just happened. Because I thought I loved myself. Like that was going to be no big deal. That's the first time I really understood, holy shit, I got some weird thing going on with my relationship with myself. I didn't try it again for another month. And then I went back a month later, tried it again, still couldn't really do it, but I didn't give up. But here's the thing, you can also take baby steps to it. So my suggestion to you is, well, first try the other steps, right? Do acceptance before love. You don't have to jump to love. Start not fighting yourself. Just start not hating yourself.
Well, like you said, it's a relationship, so it starts at step one.
Start with gratitude. Forgiveness is big, like I said before. But just think of one kind thing to say to yourself every day. And if you can't look at yourself in the mirror, don't. And your idea of bringing into your mind's eye a younger version of yourself can be very helpful. Because I talk to my younger versions of myself all the time now, and they are in pain. They're in less pain now because we've been doing this for a while. But just say one kind thing to yourself. Say, hey, I like your smile. If you like your smile, or you like your eyes, or, a body part. Like people wake up with a sore neck and then they complain about their neck all day long. But how many times when your neck isn't hurting do you say, oh, thank you, neck, for turning, being able to look left and right? Or we walk up the stairs and we complain about our knee and go, oh man, my knee, and I'm getting older. How many times are you thanking your knee for just supporting you? Your whole life, it's been supporting you and moving. Find one thing. Maybe you watered plants today. I used to be a plant killer.
I still am.
As I review, I'm not perfect, but I'm pretty good. And at the end of the day, when I review my day, I do my forgiveness, but I also review the day, all my successes, right? I used to review my failures. Now I review my successes. If I water the plants, I celebrate that. That's a good job. If I do laundry, fold the laundry, good job. And of course, I'll be celebrating this interview that you and I did. I'll be, hey, Jonathan, good job. You stumbled over a few words there. See, 20 years ago, I would have focused on, well, you gave that fourth pillar like, an hour after you gave the other ones. What was up with that? Or you stumbled over that word, or you spoke too long. I would be making up tons of stories. Now, the only story I will have is, hey, you showed up, you connected with Debbie, and that was just great to have connection. And who knows, maybe one person listening to it, maybe their life will change.
Yeah.
Because you showed up today. And I'll go to bed with that on my mind. One kind thing every day. And eventually you'll find more kind things. And eventually, if you really do it, you too, I promise you, I don't know how long it will take, but I promise if you dedicate yourself, you will be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, I love you.
Wow, that's so powerful. Jonathan, I've had the experience of, you interviewed me on your podcast as well. And so I've had the experience of having a few conversations with you already, and it's just such an amazing space to be in with you. And you're one of those people that I could just talk to all day, because I feel like we haven't even tipped the iceberg here. We haven't even there's so much more to your story, and there's so much more to the power of what you're doing. And I'm so grateful. Like, you'll definitely be on my gratitude list tonight as well. And in my, what I call my badass moments, right? Because I get to talk with some people who really exemplify the real struggle in life for a lot of people, which is the top of your game and it's empty. And it's unfulfilling. And there's this place where you seek that higher place within yourself, and that level of healing, and that level of really love, and stepping fully into your power. And so I'm so grateful to you for coming on the Show Up Show, and for sharing your story, and giving us some of the names that we can identify with, so that we can really understand the power of the story that you've lived yourself. And so then that's going to help, I'm sure, some people understand, okay, you know what? I really like this Jonathan guy. Who is he? I want to know more about him. Maybe I want to work with him. Maybe I see myself like, holy crap, that's my story. Jonathan, I need to work with you. How do they connect with you? What do you have going on?
Go to selfloverevolution.com. Click the button that says join the revolution. Meet me there. You'll be connected to just a beautiful community of people. We get together all the time. You can hit me up on Facebook, Instagram too. Just search my name. I'm easy to find. You'll find my phone number too, I'm sure. Feel free to call or text.
Hey, Jonathan, it's Debbie. What you doing?
But selfloverevolution.com. That's the community that we're building, and we're connecting, and we're all growing together.
Beautiful. Well, is there any last piece of advice that you'd like to offer the listeners before we go, Jonathan?
Just become your friend. If a friend is having difficulty, we hold space for them. We're kind to them. We don't beat them up about it. Learn how to be your own friend. When you make a mistake, if you're having a difficulty, whether it happened today or you're replaying something from 20 years ago, learn to become your own friend. Treat yourself like you would treat your friend who is coming for you to help. When you can begin to treat yourself as a friend, your life dramatically changes. Become friends with yourself.
Oh, that's very powerful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Debbie. I'm so happy to be here.
If you like what you're hearing on the Show Up Show, be sure to subscribe. And if you really, really, really like it, please leave a 5-star review. If you'd like to connect with the Show Up Show on social media, you can find us on Facebook at The Show Up Show Podcast, or on Twitter at The Show Up Show. Let's be sure to connect over on the other side. Thanks for listening.